Hello, everyone. Welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative Highlighting Engineering and Technology Virtual College Fair. We thank you for joining us. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. Your camera and microphone are turned off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening tonight, as well as over the next 2 nights, so please be sure to sign up for additional sessions after this. This presentation is also being recorded and will be available within about a week at strivescan.com/CACHET. And now I'd like to turn it over to our presenter for this session, Will.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening and stopping in to learn about Illinois Tech and ways that you can explore your STEM interests. So I'm going to talk with you this evening about not just, Illinois Tech as a university, but kind of some options you have as to how to learn more about the STEM fields. We're going to talk about ways that you can do that at Illinois Tech, some majors and pathways that you maybe didn't even know exist. So we're going to kind of do a deep dive into some of the areas that we offer at our university and talk about why we might be a great fit for you. So as you can see, we are located in Chicago, if you recognize that skyline. And hopefully you already knew that if you were joining us, but if not, we are just a few minutes from the core of downtown Chicago. It's a nice urban location. We're a small school with just about 3,000 undergraduate students. And as you can imagine, we are STEM focused. So all of our majors connect to a STEM field in one way or another. You'll hear about a lot of those tonight, but know that you can always go on our website for even more information and even more virtual events like this and some of the others that you may have been attending. So as I mentioned, give you a quick little overview of Illinois Tech this evening. And then we're going to jump into some of the different ways that you can explore your interest in the field. We're going to talk about some of those interests and some of the different things that might exist at our university through our pre-college programs, and also just some of the majors that encompass those areas. Again, talk about some of those summer programs at the university. We'll talk about the application and what the admissions process at Illinois Tech looks like. And then we'll have some time for question and answer. So feel free as we're going to drop any questions you have into the question and answer box, especially once we get into those interest slides where we'll be talking about some of the different ways that you can explore the pathways, some of the different areas that you might want to study. Definitely a great time to use that question and answer. We'll do most of those at the end, but I'll keep an eye as well on the screen for some of those questions. If it's really relevant to what we're talking about, we might jump into it at that time. So if you're wondering why you might want to consider Illinois Tech, you can see here some of the reasons or some of the things our students say about the university. And you can see there's lots of different reasons that students choose Illinois Tech. As I said, we're a smaller school, just about 3,000 undergraduate students, as well as about 4,000 grad and PhD level students. So you're looking at a total population of about 7,000, which is not huge for a college. It's definitely a great size. It allows you to get to know the fellow students, get to know your professors, and it's a small enough space that you have, one main campus. You don't have to worry about how long does it take me to get from one side to the other. It's at most about a 10 to 15 minute walk to go from very far edges of campus, which no one really ever does. Some of the things that you see here as to why our students picked the professors, professors knowing you by your first name, building a relationship with you, getting to know you as an individual, and helping you to explore, what do I want to do today? What do I want to study? What experiences do I want to have that are going to help me stand out when I graduate, that are going to help you in that job search process, help you figure out, what type of microbiologist do I want to be? What's that special niche that I want to fill out in the world? Some other things you might see, affordability and scholarships. Those are definitely things that are important in the college search process. You can have the best fit university, but if it's not going to be a financial reality or a financial fit for you, may not be the best option for you. So important to think about affordability, and a big part of that can be scholarships. So I would encourage you, and I'll talk a little bit more about them in the end of the presentation, to learn about those types of experiences or those opportunities at schools that you're looking at. Other reasons, Chicago, that's a huge benefit for our students. And that's actually a question that just came in. What are some job opportunities around the campus? Chicago is a absolutely outstanding resource for our students. Not only are you an Illinois Tech student when you come to our university, You're now a resident of Chicago. Congratulations. We want you to take advantage of that. We want you to hop on the train, ride 10 to 15 minutes away, and you'll be right downtown. And you've got lots of opportunities for both jobs, internships, co-ops, all of those, a quick, easy trip from campus. Some of the others you might see, things like ice cream. Somebody apparently really loved the ice cream on campus. Students who just kind of felt that fit. That's one of the most important things that you'll hear a lot of college representatives talk about, is finding that fit. When you go to a campus and you walk around, when we're able to do that again, or you attend virtual sessions, do these things resonate with you? Do you feel like this is the vibe that you would want to have? I encourage you to try as much as possible to explore that. You can find it on the website. You can look at social media and see what are the students doing at this university. I will tell you from my own personal college experience, I looked initially at a large state institution when I was looking at college, because that's just what everyone did from my high school. And eventually I looked at a small private school and found maybe this is a little bit more what I want. Maybe I can have these types of close relationships and conversations with professors and feel comfortable in a small environment. I also went to a very tiny high school of just about 150 students in my graduating class. So it worked out very well for me to go to a smaller school. Maybe you'll find that you actually want that large school environment. You want that NCAA Division I sports. All of that's that fit that you have to look for. And again, maybe you want to be far from home, or maybe you want to be close. All of these things are things that you hopefully are considering. I already mentioned a lot of this about our location, but as I said, we are just a few minutes from the center of downtown Chicago. We are on the public train system, or the L, if you're familiar with Chicago and public transit. We actually have two stops directly on our campus. There's a green line train as well as a red line train. And both of those will get you up into the city in just about a 10 to 15-minute train ride. Our students have full access to that system with their student ID card as part of the Ventura UPass program. So basically, you pay for 1 month and get full semester access, which is great. And that's part of your student tuition and fees. Some other things that you might see on this map, there's the museum campus where the Shed Aquarium, the Adler Planetarium, the Natural History Museum, all of these great resources are quick 7-minute ride from our campus. So our students who want to do internships, who want to get experience, maybe working at the planetarium for our astrophysicists, you can do that. And it's not something you have to really, think about, oh, I have to move to a new city. It's right there at your fingertips. Some other things you'll see for out-of-state students, we do have 2 airports in Chicago. So you've got O'Hare and Midway, very easy access to those on the public train system as well. So you've got lots of connections. And for those of you maybe from the Midwest, college is a great time to explore. If you get a chance to maybe go with friends for a spring break trip to their hometown, or maybe you want to go to Thanksgiving with your roommate, all of those are at your fingertips. That's one of the things our students who come from out of state really enjoy, is being centrally located. It's a great sort of stepping point out into the rest of the world. Now, at the university, we are broken up into sort of 5 individual colleges. Now, these are where all of those different majors are housed. And we have over 40 different majors. Actually, that number is up to about 45 different majors that students can pursue. The largest of these colleges is the Armour College of Engineering, which is a great option for students who know they want to go into the engineering field. You can come in declaring exactly what major you want, or you could say, I'm a little undecided. I like something in the engineering field. Maybe it's mechanical, maybe it's aerospace, maybe it's biomedical. You can explore all of those over your first year and then declare a major at the end of that. Another option is our College of Architecture, which is a great pathway as well for students who know, again, that they want to be architects. We have a 5-year professional degree pathway for our architects. So you don't have to go on and get a master's degree. When you graduate with our BArch, or Bachelor's of Architecture, you're eligible to then start your licensing process right away. Also a great option for architects who might want to work in modernism. Mies van der Rohe, if you know the name, was the dean of our architecture school and really left a strong impact on our campus. You'll see that in a lot of the campus buildings. You'll see that in our approach to the way that we teach the field. Next up is the College of Computing. This is a new college, or relatively new. It's about a year old now. So the College of Computing all of these programs used to be separate. There were some in our old College of Science. There were some in the Applied Technology School, and they all came together. So you're going to find, obviously, computer science. You'll find information technology. You'll find our statistics programs. You'll find our applied math. Basically anything in the field of mathematics or computing will be housed within that College of Computing. And that gives our students not only a great foundation and a great way to explore their interests, but also all of those same faculty member in one place. So you've got that great connections that you can build. Next up is the Lewis College of Science and Letters. This is a pretty big college. This has all of those traditional lab sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, all of those types of fields that you think of, as well as our more our human science focused programs. So psychology, consumer research, all of those types of pathways as well that may be a little bit more STEM connected versus directly studying in the STEM-based programs. We'll go a little bit more in depth because there's a lot of niche programs within the Lewis College of Science and Letters. And then last, we have our Stewart School of Business. Now, why would you come to a STEM-based institution to get a business degree? And to that, we would say, why not? It's a great foundation for you. You're not only going to learn the basics of business, you're not only going to learn, in a lot of ways, actually the depth of business. You're not just getting an overview of that, but you're also going to be able to study a STEM-based program. So maybe you want to go into the automotive industry. So you do Stewart School of Business, and then you also do a minor in mechanical engineering. You bring those together, and not only are you ready to actually help with the financing, with the advertising of making a vehicle, but you also understand some of the basics that go into that engineering work to actually create that. So it's a great pathway for students who want to blend a traditional business-based program with your STEM field as well. Some other things you'll see on this slide. We also have a ton of different minors. So some, like artificial intelligence, used to only be a minor, and now it's a full major. Others like entrepreneurship, music, game design, those are still minors only, but those are great options for students and let you explore other parts of your academic experience. And then finally, we do have some pre-professional programs, pre-law, pre-health, pre-dentistry, all of those great pathways for students who absolutely know they want to go into one of those fields. You don't necessarily declare that as a major at our university. Those will be minors that you'll take in addition to a major. So you wouldn't be a pre-med major at Illinois Tech. Instead, you might be a biology major, you might be a computer scientist, you might be an architect, but still doing a pre-med minor. I would say being an architect in pre-med is a little weird, but you might do it. We're not going to tell you no if that's something you really want to do. Now, talking about different ways that you can explore these fields. So if you're maybe a junior, or hopefully maybe even younger than that, a 9th or 10th grader who's exploring options and saying, I like STEM, but I don't know exactly what I want to do. And even for those of you who might be tuning in as juniors, you can still use these resources. These are all ways to see, what niche do I want to feel? What area is the best fit for me? So some of these that you'll find might be a little geared toward younger students, but I think we can all learn some things from them. So first up is that tryengineering.org. These are sort of games and activities that you can do that help you see what it might be to work in engineering, to see that problem solving in effect and see, how do we take a concept? How do we approach something from an engineering perspective and say, now, how do we use this? How do we make an impact in the world? And how do we hopefully make a great positive impact in the world? That's something you'll find in a lot of engineering programs, is that very problem-solving based approach. Absolutely true at Illinois Tech. Another option would be for those might want to do some civil engineers or civil engineering. They also have an engineering at home program, some great options for students to do. And you can do all of these now virtually while you're at home. That's totally available to students. Some other recommendations we have, just sort of general interest things. If you don't already know, Science News for Students is a phenomenal resource. Not only is it going to just kind of give you updates about what's happening in the field, areas that you may not know about, but it also does deep dives. So especially over this past year, there was a lot of medical information, obviously, shared. And Science News for Students did a great job of breaking that down, making it a little bit more approachable for people who don't have PhDs in microbiology, or maybe don't know exactly what type of a vector-borne disease might be. So this is a great resource, not only for helping you explore options, but also just keeping you updated in the world. Some other ways that you might learn about that would be things like the Science Buddies website, which is all about interviews from people who are working in the industry. So you get a chance to kind of see, what do I want to do? What does it look like to actually be out working in the field? What is the day-to-day life of an aerospace engineer? Obviously you might be working with planes, you might be working with space shuttles, all different types of options. So these are sort of in-depth interviews, which are great. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is probably one of the most detailed resources you'll find. There is a lot of information. It goes into depth about what you need to study, what requirements you might have for licensing, goes into some salary information, which is always great to know what the future looks like from a salary perspective. But the website is maybe not the most updated. It is a little bit dated looking in some ways, but it is great information for you to explore. When I was a young student myself back in high school and middle school, this was a literal book that was huge, and they would just bring it out on like career day, but much easier to use as a website. So I encourage you to take a look at the BLS and see what are some different pathways that you might be interested in. Also encourage you to talk to your friends and family. Everyone knows people. You all know different people who might be working in the STEM field. They might be working in ways that support STEM-based interests. So I encourage you to definitely talk to the people around you. And if you don't know anyone who might work in one of these areas, jump on the internet. YouTube is a great resource to see different career pathways. People record videos showing a day in the life. These are types of things that you might want to look at. Obviously with YouTube, make sure it's a good resource, make sure you check all of that information. And really that's true of all of these. Don't take anything at face value, but do your research, learn about the field, and hopefully find something that would be a good fit for you. Other ways you can do this are obviously through organizations that might be affiliated with your high school. Some of these clubs that might be for niche or might be for specific groups of students. So I encourage you to find one that might be a good fit for you. But things like a hacking club, or Girls Who Code, Future Business Leaders of America. These are some of those sort of career-based clubs that would be great resources to help you see what do I need to do during my high school years? What are some experiences that I can have that will help me stand out when I get to applying to colleges and universities? National mentorship groups are also great resources. ACE, which is the Civil and Architectural Engineering, has a really outstanding mentorship program for those who might want to go into that field. Looking at organizations like MentorNet, all of these are available resources for you to use. And then we have our competition, because everybody loves a little healthy competition. So things like FIRST or VEX Robotics, these are organizations that I will tell you, Illinois Tech is definitely happy to see that representation on our campus. I missed over the last year not being able to go out and see the competitions. We traditionally go and visit FIRST competitions, those regional competitions, the national. You can see a photo there of a pretty large FIRST competition happening. And we host some of those on our own campus. So those are some great options for students who might want to go into robotics, but also things like Destination Imagination, things like Cyber Patriot coding clubs or cybersecurity clubs. All of these are ways for you to learn about the field, learn some of those basic concepts, and really apply them as well. And finally, another great resource would be doing what you're doing now, attending sessions like this, attending the events with CACHET, this organization, as well as hopefully connecting with individual colleges. If you have the opportunity and over the summer as maybe more and more schools start to open up, go on a campus tour, do an information session. If not, you can definitely do those virtually as well. And you can do that from home. You don't have to worry about traveling, which is great. More and more schools are offering virtual sessions. So think about doing those types of things. Other things though would maybe when you're on a campus, see if they have a specialized tour. If you're an architecture student, maybe you can actually do an architecture tour with a practicing architect or with a faculty member where they're going to tell you the history of not just the campus and all of the good things about why you should apply, but they can talk to you about the buildings themselves. See if maybe you want to do aerospace engineering. Is there a wind tunnel on campus? Could you maybe get a chance to see that? Could you go into a lab where you're growing algae samples to use as biofuels? These are things that it never hurts to ask. You may not be able to do this at every college, but I encourage you to reach out and see if you can do these types of specialized visits, because it's only going to help you understand what that college offers and how that might be a fit for you. And then finally, summer programs. Like I said, we'll talk a lot more about our summer programs at Illinois Tech, but that is a great way to explore your interests. Now we're going to jump into some of the different ways that you can take something like psychology. Say you like your Psych 101 class. Things that you could do with that and summer programs that we have here at Illinois Tech to help you explore that field a bit more. So we have a lot of different majors related to psychology, things like the psychological sciences, which is our version of psychology, as well as other majors that you may not have ever heard of. Not super common to hear a social and economic development policy program. What exactly does that mean to major in that? It means that you want to work maybe in a nonprofit sector, or maybe you want to work in a government sector. Those are sort of the two main pathways for students who do that program. You're going to learn really the foundations of psychology and approaching things from a psychological sciences perspective, really thinking about how and why people behave the way that they do. But you're also going to get comfortable working with data. That's, again, one of those big benefits of a school like Illinois Tech, is that STEM focus, that math and science foundation. You're not going to be afraid of working with Excel and working with maybe some basic programming languages. That's an option that all of our students have at Illinois Tech, is to take some basic CS courses. Other ways you can use psychology, obviously in business, as we're thinking about the ways that people make decisions, business is a great pathway for those who want to maybe influence those decisions, or just study that at a deeper level and look at how do we develop our processes in a way that supports those types of decisions making. And then another program you've probably never heard of before, behavioral health and wellness. This takes it a step further and uses the ways that people think to hopefully make them better health decisions. So something we did a few years ago, and I have a watch on, a smartwatch, as you can see. Our behavioral health and wellness program a few years ago looked at that gamification theory. How do we make people, or encourage people, I don't like to use the word make, how do we encourage people to maybe be a little bit more active? And one of the things you'll find is gamification works. We all like to work that ring around on our smartwatch, or to grow that flower on the app, whatever it might be. And so it's using principles like that to think about how do we help people make better decisions in the future. So behavioral health and wellness, another great option for students who might want to go out into that type of work. Also a good preparation if you wanted to do something like epidemiology, because again, you're going to get that really strong science foundation, the really strong math foundation. And these are just a few of those summer programs related to these areas that we're offering this summer. So obviously a psychology camp, that's a pretty nice and easy. We also have a fake news and information literacy program. So you can learn all about how do we evaluate some of those things that we maybe looked up earlier when we were talking about watching YouTube videos for career fields. How do we evaluate that? How do we make sure that this data is important, this data is relevant, it's been peer reviewed, all of those types of things. So these are some other different areas that we have throughout the program. One there is our, one that I think is kind of interesting, is that environmental sustainability, looking at the ways that parks in the city of Chicago have been developed, thinking about the impact that has on the community, the access and the opportunities that affords the community around it. So I would encourage you to think about some of these programs if you are interested in psychology. Switching gears, if you're interested in math, again, we have a lot of great options for you as a student, and math degrees are definitely very well supported for return on investment, as well as obviously career satisfaction. One of the things that you can do with a math, or you can do many things with a math degree, and that's one of the reasons I think that it's so well supported. You can see some of those majors that we have, things like applied math, engineering, business, a lot of those that you might have heard before. Applied math is really the study of using math in different ways. So statistics really connects to that, thinking of how do we incorporate the power of math into biology, into chemistry, using that kind of data and crunching that information by way of statistics is a really great pathway. And bioinformatics is a combination of those two. Obviously pre-health as well for students who might want to blend that approach. And then many different computer programs have math concepts within them. I did see a question, and that's a great question. Is our summer programs virtual or in person this summer? So the majority of our summer programs are being offered virtually, just for safety reasons. We do have a limited number of them that will be in person, and for primarily like sort of like a day camp status, you would just kind of come to our campus for a few hours each day and do those. We aren't offering any residential camps just for safety reasons this year. So most of them will be virtual, but there will be some in person. So great question. Thanks for asking that. And these are some of the programs that are connected to our math areas. So things like artificial intelligence. If you want to do a summer program, learn for about 2 or 3 weeks all about AI concepts. How do you create your own AI bot? Things like that is what you would do in that program. And then we have 2 math camps where you'll get a chance to go really deep with our professors from our math school and see these different types of options that would exist for students. And then of course, we have a number of engineering programs that would be available for the summer as well. Now, if you're interested in maybe law or government, maybe you really enjoy being a part of your school's student council. Maybe you're somebody who knows that they want to help make an impact in the future in that government sector. I mentioned our SEDP, or Social and Economic Development Policy Program. Already talked about that one. But some of those others, global studies, maybe that's new to you. At Illinois Tech, global studies takes a lot of those same foundations of that SEDP program, giving you the option to work in nonprofit or government sectors, but adds the international component to that. So every student who's in our global studies program participates in some type of an international experience. That could be a study abroad trip, but for some reason, if you can't go and study abroad, you can do an international themed internship in the US, or you can do an international themed co-op, something in the US, but still international focused if you're not able to go on an international study abroad trip. So we do encourage all of our global studies students to get that second exposure of not just government and nonprofit, but adding that international focus as well. Again, engineering. Lots of things you can do with engineering, not just actually, creating things yourself. Maybe you want to go into patent law. We are one of the schools in the country that is both a STEM school as well as a school that has its own law school. So the Chicago-Kent College of Law is affiliated with Illinois Tech. They are part of our master's programs, and they help us to create some of our summer programs and obviously pre-law programs and pathways for students as well. And again, some of those same types of groups or summer programs showing up on the list for you. But one of the big ones I would point out on this page is that Pre-Law Institute. That's a great pathway for students to think they might want to be a lawyer. Think about you may want to go into some of these different areas. And again, virtual option, so you can do that from anywhere. If you're in Chicago, you might be able to come on campus and see the space as well. Now, looking at building and design, this is another big area for Illinois Tech, obviously, with that architecture program that I mentioned. We want you to get exposed to all of the different types of work in that field, though. So it's not just architects. They also work with architectural engineers who help them say, will this building actually stand? Those are the people who are helping to run, figure out how we run all of those electrical wires, how we actually build a space that works well with Wi-Fi technology that we have today. Thinks about the acoustics of a building. Architects sometimes have crazy ideas about what might be the best possible space, and an architectural engineer oftentimes will help them say, are you sure you want that much of an overhang? Or if we tilt it just a little too much, it might not stand. So architectural engineering is a great addition to the architecture field as well. We have things like civil engineers. That's a little different. Maybe you want to do more public works focus. You want to help us redesign some of the crazy roadways that we have in this US or in the world as a whole. So civil engineering is a little bit more public works focused. That's one of the different ways you can kind of think of that. Obviously, mechanical engineers also work in the building and the design area. And we do also have an Institute of Design. So at the master's level, you could do a full product design program at Illinois Tech if you wanted to do that. And then other programs like architecture or digital humanities that bring some of those fields together and gives you a nice solid foundation. I'll point out that one building in the top corner of our presentation, that is Crown Hall, and that is one of Mies van der Rohe's most famous buildings. So again, Mies, it was the dean of our architecture school, and really, for a lot of people, is the father of modernist architecture in the US. So definitely left a strong impact and left us this amazing building that is on the National Historic Landmark list, and actually got on that list about 10 years before most buildings do. So he was eligible a little bit earlier than others. And that is just one of many Mies van der Rohe buildings. So you'd be able to see Crown Hall. You would see the only religious space he ever built, which we lovingly call the God Box at Illinois Tech. And some other things, some other programs, again, that exist at the university that experiment rather in landscape architecture. So if you want to think about not just buildings, but also the area around them and beautifying all of that space, landscape architecture could be a great pathway for students. And that is a pathway that you can study as a specialization within your architecture program at the university. All right, so here's a big one, science. So if you say you like science, you enjoy biology, you like some elements of chemistry, you've taken a little bit of physics and you like that, there's a lot of different pathways and a lot of things that you can do with a science degree. Obviously, you can go into any of those that I just said, biology, chemistry, physics. Those are great options. You can do that at Illinois Tech. You can go pretty deep into those fields at Illinois Tech. You could also do blended programs. So biology and psychology, bringing that together and looking at both the how and why about the human body. Forensic chemistry. So if you watch CSI and things like that, obviously there's a need for forensic chemists. There's a lot of different ways that you can use that degree. It's not just going out and collecting samples in the field. We need all types of innovation in that. So forensic chemists are not just the people who are processing all of that kind of information. They're really the ones who are helping us look at what's the next level of specificity that we can get. Astrophysics, again, I mentioned that earlier in the presentation, because of our location and because of how easy it is for our students to get connected to places like the Adler Planetarium. Because of the connections that Illinois Tech as a university has, because we've been around since the 1800s, we've got some really great options, and we do help to our students to take advantage of that. So we definitely encourage you to do that. Some of those other new majors that you may have never heard of before, or some things that you don't necessarily think of as a potential career path. Food science and nutrition. Obviously nutrition, you might know that side of it, but food science, if you think about all of the food that we buy, somebody created that. Somebody creates the powdered drink mixes that they use at Dunkin' Donuts. And that person actually happens to be an Illinois Tech grad. She was a chemistry grad at Illinois Tech because we didn't have a food science program back then, but she used that degree and ultimately now works in the food science field and helped us to create some of the curriculum that you see in that specific pathway. Other things like bioinformatics, that's all about using computers, blending it with biology, and basically helping us do things that the human brain alone couldn't calculate. So how do we use those resources that we have so that we can definitely take advantage of that? And then molecular biochemistry and biophysics, I am not going to jump into that one because that is a little bit above my level, but know that we do have very deep options. And part of that is because of the work that we're able to do as students, or sorry, part of that is because of the level of or the size of the institution. You can go really deep into these programs. You can build those relationships with professors in that small group environment. And then these are some of the summer programs that we have for this as well. Things like chemistry, biology, medical engineering. There are a lot of different pathways that you can do these. And I do see one of the questions, how do you do some of this virtually? That is a great question. There are things we can do at home to learn about these fields. You may not necessarily, and we're not going to encourage you to do some of the labs that may be a little bit more dangerous. It's going to be more exposure to them, seeing them from the folks on campus who are able to do that safely in a lab environment. So it's not necessarily going to be setting up your own chemistry lab at home, but more learning some of these concepts and seeing how they actually go out into the industry and apply. That's one of the things you'll find in some of these summer programs is that exposure. Oops. And then jumping in our last grouping here is going to be our computers and technology. So there's obviously a lot of computers, and you've heard me talk about that in a lot of these camps as well, but things like CS and computer engineering and artificial intelligence, these are some of those programs that are going to be a bit more theory-based. These are going to have a little bit more math in the program that we offer. Some alternatives to that, for those of you who think like, I just want to use the technology, I don't really want to like build and code all of it myself. I just want to use it in new and innovative ways. Things like information technology, applied cybersecurity, the digital humanities, or our social science, technology, and society. These are other pathways and different ways to approach the idea of computers. You don't have to be a computer science grad in order to work with computers, obviously. That's definitely true. But there's a few different ways that you can approach that, and we encourage you to explore those at Illinois Tech. And you'll see that in some of those different programs that we're offering this summer. So kind of using the basic concepts of computers in different ways so that it's not just, I know how to code, but what else can you do with that technology? So again, this is some information about some of those summer programs. These are for primarily high school students, 14 to 17 years old, and they range anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks in length. There are going to be some virtual options, as we said, and there will be some limited in-person offerings on our campus as well. These, again, think of them as kind of like day camps or being like a commuter student, just coming in, spending a few hours as part of the summer program, and then heading back out. And obviously, we'll be doing these as safely as possible. So we're getting the large spaces on campus so that we can help everyone spread out and things like that. And we are changing some of them that just weren't possible for you all to spread out in the labs. So those are some of the ones that unfortunately did get canceled. And then in other years, we will have residential programs. So again, this summer, it's not a possibility, but for some of you younger students who might be tuning in, know that in future summers, we will also provide more of that full experience of what it might be like to be a college student at Illinois Tech. We're going to let you live in the residence halls. You're going to eat the dining hall food, which I will tell you is pretty good. You'll see the residence spaces. You'll actually be, what does it be like to be a student in that residential experience? And there are varied prices for all of these different summer programs. So I encourage you to jump on the website, take a look and see which ones you might be interested in, and take a look at the offerings, the costs, and because it does vary quite a bit. They're all different levels. Some of them are, again, 1 week, some are 4 weeks. So you can kind of see what is being offered at the different price points, as well as how much time you would be investing into these experiences. There is an application process, but it's really more of a registration process for most of the camps. We don't require prerequisites for the majority of them. We want these to be exploration activities. So it's a chance for you to see, is this a good fit for me? There are some of the camps, however, that we do need you to have certain levels of math, just because we don't want you to get lost in the concepts. So if you are thinking about doing any of these, again, jump on our website and see what's available, see what you might need to have done in the past in order to be prepared and get the most out of the experience, because that's really the most important part. We don't want you to struggle and we don't want you to fall behind and not really, be getting the best possible experience, because again, this is something you're doing in the summer, and we want to make sure that you're using that time wisely. And then shifting gears slightly, and then we'll, again, if you have questions, and I've already answered a few, but feel free to drop those in. We're gonna talk a little about the application process, and then I'll have a few minutes for questions. But if you are maybe a junior and you're thinking, this sounds great, I love all of these random programs I've never heard of before, this is what it would look like to apply to Illinois Tech. We open our applications for our seniors on August 1st of your senior year. And we're a rolling admission school, so you can apply all year long. Throughout your senior year, though we encourage you to apply before November 15th for the best scholarship consideration. What we're going to look for in our review process is a holistic review. We want to see your Common App essays. We want to get a chance to see what you've been involved in. We want to see who you are as an individual and a student. We're going to ask you for that high school transcript to see part of that student approach. And then we're going to ask you for one letter of recommendation. You can submit up to 3 total, but you have to submit 1. And then finally, if you do have test scores, you're able to submit those. We are test optional, both for this year's class as well as for the upcoming year, because we know not everyone has been able to test or to test at the best of their abilities, given all of the things going on. So we will be test optional for the next year's class as well. And when you apply, you're automatically considered for scholarships. So every student who applies to the university and is admitted receives some level of scholarship support at the university. So we do encourage you to apply and see what that might be for you. Excuse me. And as I said, if you apply before November 15th, that's our priority scholarship deadline, puts you in the running for up to full tuition scholarships. So I definitely encourage you to try and hit that date if at all possible. Last year are some other ways that you could learn about us. Obviously, there's other events that are happening as part of this great week of exposure to the STEM fields and engineering. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage of some of those and see some of the other colleges who are participating as well. College fairs in the future, those virtual, those in person, whatever it might be for us in that time, definitely stop by, say hello to your Illinois Tech admissions counselors. Feel free to ask us questions. We also typically have alumni who are there, so they can tell you what it was like when they were a student, the support they've had after graduating, all of that kind of student experience. And then visit us at your high school. If that's something that's possible in the fall semester, we would love to see you while we're out on the road. Hopefully, let's all cross our fingers for that. And then finally, scheduling a visit with us. We currently offer virtual visits 3 times a week. So you can do sort of a mini presentation with us, and then we'll get you out on a virtual campus tour with one of our current students, so you can see some of those spaces I mentioned. We also have many events happening where you get a chance to go deep into these fields. So we have what we call the Explore Illinois Tech Nights, where you explore architecture at a deeper level, and that's directly with the faculty who teach those classes, not our undergrad admissions office. So you'll get a chance to see, what does the curriculum look like? What does it mean to actually be, someone who's studying psychological sciences at Illinois Tech? So we encourage you to take advantage of those explore academic sessions. And then many events that are more student focused. We also want you to see, is this a good fit for me? So maybe it's a night where you just kind of come in and virtually hang out and meet the students who are currently attending around a specific club or organization. All of those things are advertised on our website. So we would encourage you to take advantage of those. And that is my last slide. If you have any questions for me, I'm going to look at the questions that did come in to make sure I answered those, but feel free to submit others as we are talking. I did see one about internship opportunities for pre-law students. So definitely encourage all of our students to do internships, not just pre-law, but every student at Illinois Tech is supported in the internship process. One of the ways we do that is through a program on campus called Elevate, which is all about getting you out of Illinois Tech. We want to help you explore internships, co-ops, study abroad experiences, short courses taught by the industry. All of these are ways to help you stand out as an individual when it comes to applying for jobs. And so Elevate is an office on campus that will help support you in that search and help you look at what else could I be doing to make myself supported and stand out. Oh, great question. So we also have a question, do we have any accelerated combination degree programs? So we do. At Illinois Tech, we have what we call our accelerated master's program. And that is for every single program that we offer. Every single undergraduate major has at least one pathway to get you a master's degree in only one additional year. So it would be a total of 5 years to complete both a bachelor's and a master's degree at Illinois Tech. So not only is it accelerated and gets you done a little bit quicker, but we also hold that undergraduate tuition into that 5th year. So you never pay graduate level tuition rates. We basically hold your undergrad tuition and your undergraduate scholarships are held over into that 5th year. So the whole time you would receive whatever scholarship you received as part of the admissions process, and then that same tuition rate for that additional work. Again, that's one pathway at minimum for every single major. And if you don't love the pathways that exist currently that our previous students have built or done themselves, you can also build a new one. So you would work with your academic advisors to basically pair things together that work best. The way that works is during your 4th year, or what would traditionally be your senior year, you would be meeting both undergraduate and graduate level requirements with that coursework. And then your 5th year would be mostly graduate level classes with 1 or 2 holdovers so that we can keep that undergraduate tuition rate going for you. Other questions that we might have? Perfect. Well, I thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful in not only learning a little bit more about Illinois Tech, but just STEM in general and helping you explore some of those interests that you might have, thinking about fields that you never knew existed. We encourage you to explore that. Some of those that I mentioned, if I had known that they were pathways that were available to me as a student, I may not be sitting here today because there are some really cool majors that we offer at Illinois Tech. And we encourage all of our students to think outside of that box and really see what might be the best possible fit for you. So I think we are right at about time. So I will hand it back over to Kelsey to end out the presentation.
Thank you, Will. And what a great information session that was. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. When you close out of this window, there'll be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many different sessions being hosted tonight, as well as the next 2 days. So please be sure to sign up for additional sessions. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording, as well as the others at strivescan.com/CACHET. So thank you all so much for attending, and thank you, Will, for the presentation. And I hope everyone has a great night.